Hi everyone, this is Mrs. GA, and today we're going to review how to divide polynomials. Alright, so we're going to start with long division of polynomials. So here we have 8x to the fourth plus 6x squared minus 3x plus 1 divided by 2x squared minus x plus 2. So for the setup, we're going to write our first polynomial underneath our long division little table. One thing I want to point out is that we need to make sure every term in descending order is included. So if we are missing a term, like in this example, we're missing the x cubed term, we need to have a placeholder. So it looks something like this. 8x to the fourth plus 0x cubed plus 6x squared minus 3x plus 1. So make sure you start always by checking to see if you need a placeholder for your setup. And then on the outside, we'll write 2x squared minus x plus 2. So the process here is very similar to regular long division. I'm going to look at this first term, and I'm going to ask myself, what is 8x to the fourth divided by, and I just use my most outer term here. So I do 8x to the fourth divided by 2x squared, and I get 4x squared. And now, just like in long division, I'm going to take this and I'm going to multiply it to everything here, and I'm going to line it up underneath to subtract. So when I do this, I like to have my subtraction, and then I like to group what's inside to remind me that I'm subtracting everything. So 4x squared times 2x squared is 8x to the fourth. 4x squared times negative x is negative 4x cubed, and 4x squared times 2 is 8x squared. So notice I've grouped it to remind me that I'm subtracting every term. And that can get really tricky maybe in a step like this. You have to remember we're actually doing 0 minus negative 4x cubed, so it becomes positive 4x cubed. 6 minus 8 is negative 2x squared. And then just like regular long division, we drop our next term and start over. So now I'm going to do 4x cubed divided by 2x squared, and that gives me 2x. And now I'm going to multiply, so I'm going to set up my parentheses so I remember to subtract everything. So 2x times 2x squared is 4x cubed. 2x times negative x is negative 2x squared, and 2x times 2 is positive 4x. So my first term cancels out. I have negative 2x squared minus negative 2x squared, which becomes 0x squared, so that also cancels out. And then here I have negative 3x minus 4x, so I have negative 7x. And then I'm going to drop down my last term like this. Now from here, I'm no longer able to continue the division because I can't do x divided by x squared, so that means that this is going to be our remainder. So we write our final answer like this. I'm going to write 4x squared plus 2x, and then to write the remainder, we say plus whatever ends up in the remainder over whatever you divided by, which was 2x squared minus x plus 2. And this is our answer. All right, go ahead and pause the video and see if you can give this example a try on your own. We'll check our answer in just a few seconds. Okay, go ahead and check your work here. I think the most important thing to check for in the setup is that you have this placeholder for x squared. So if you made a mistake, if your answer doesn't match mine, check in each step with the subtraction. That's usually where we see mistakes because we forget that we're actually subtracting every term. Just make sure that you're grouping these polynomials, and that should help to remind you that you're subtracting everything. But here's our final answer, and you can see that we do have a remainder of 3x minus 30. Okay, so now we're going to talk about a different way to divide polynomials, which is called synthetic division. So synthetic division, the setup's a little different, and it can only be used if the divisor is in the form of x minus c. So it only works for those types of binomials. So it won't work for everything, but it works for a lot of things, and you'll find that it's much quicker and it has other applications. For example, synthetic division is very useful for checking solutions. So you can quickly do synthetic division, and if your remainder is 0, you know that that is a solution. So first we're just going to do a quick recap on how to do synthetic division. So the setup is a little bit funky. So first I start with a little box, and in this box I put what the zero of this factor would be. So since the factor is x minus 3, my zero would be positive 3. So I put my 0 in the box. Then next to my box, I'm going to list the coefficients of each term in descending order. So again, you need to watch for missing terms. So I have 2 is the coefficient of x cubed, negative 7 is the coefficient of x squared. I'm missing my x term, so I need a 0, and then my constant is 5. Then leave a space here, and then you draw a line, and this is where we start the process. So our first step is always to drop our first number, and then it's just repeating the steps of multiplying and adding. So I do 3 times 2, and I put my answer here, so 6. And then I add vertically. Negative 7 plus 6 is negative 1. And I restart. I do 3 times negative 1 is negative 3, and then I add vertically. And then last, 3 times negative 3 is negative 9, and then I add vertically. So these are going to be the coefficients and the remainder of our answer. I like to draw an extra line here because this last term should always be our remainder. So the way you turn these coefficients to an answer is you need to look back at your original problem, and then remember, we started with a degree of 3 and then we divided out a degree of 1. So our answer should start with x squared. You always drop your degree down 1. So our final answer would be 2x squared minus 1x, and then our constant is negative 3, and again, this should always be our remainder. So our remainder would be negative 4 over x minus 3. And this is our answer. So you could do long division for this example as well, but I think typically synthetic division is going to be much quicker and a little bit easier. Okay, go ahead and pause the video and see if you can give this one a try. We'll check our answer in a few seconds. Okay, so check your setup. Here we didn't need any placeholders, so remember, drop your first number and then it's just multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. Since we started with x cubed and divided out x, our answer will start with x squared, and our remainder is 110 over x minus 3. Okay, last I'm going to show you how we can use synthetic division to quickly check that a number is 0. So this says show that 1 is a 0 of this polynomial. So I'm actually going to put 1, because remember our zeros go in the box, and then I'm going to list out my coefficient. So 1, 0, negative 7, 6. And I can go through the really quick process of synthetic division, and if 1 is a 0, my remainder should be 0, meaning it divides in evenly. So again, let's start our process. So 1 times 1 is 1, add. Multiply, add, and then multiply, add. And you can see that our remainder is 0, so that confirms that 1 is a 0 of this polynomial. All right, that is all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching.